Next question is, this is yes or no. If you marry your brother and you commit immigration fraud, should you be denaturalized and deported? If you commit immigration fraud, yes or no?
Welcome back. What unfolded in this House oversight hearing wasn't scripted drama or political posturing. It was an outright collision. Representative Nancy Mace walked into the room with a singular focus and zero patience for evasive answers. Instead of circling the issue, she locked onto allegations surrounding Minnesota's leadership during Governor Tim Walz's tenure. For years, concerns about lax oversight and questionable use of public funds have quietly simmered. This time, those concerns exploded into the open with a jaw-dropping figure: roughly $250 million allegedly misused. But the most disturbing claim wasn't just waste or fraud. It was where some of that money may have gone. Testimony suggested that taxpayer dollars could have flowed to Al-Shabaab, a designated terrorist organization. As Mace questioned witnesses, the atmosphere shifted fast. Straightforward questions about fraud, citizenship standards, and basic accountability triggered visible discomfort and audible backlash. When asking for clear answers sparks outrage instead of clarity, something is deeply broken. Mace ignored the interruptions, cut through the chaos, and made it clear she wasn't interested in excuses. This moment wasn't about sound bites. It was about exposing a failure that goes far beyond politics.
Thank you. As I listen to the witnesses answer questions today, I'm struck by the truly breathtaking amount of fraud, the scope and scale perpetrated against the American people by Somalians in Minnesota. Screeching Democrats, like you just heard, at our witnesses. Democrats on this committee don't want to talk about Minnesota fraud because Minnesota fraud is Democrat fraud. You're going to make a great host on MSNBC. You're going to be great. And this is a cover-up. I mean, the very definition of cover-up. And so while we're still trying to understand the scale of the fraud, it appears that the amount of fraud we are talking about could exceed the size of GDP in Somalia, the size of its economy is what we're talking about. So let that sink in, the amount of fraud we're talking about. My first question is this, Mr. Balyu, this afternoon. Should Somalians in Minnesota be required to speak English, their citizens? Yes or no? Should they be required to speak English if they're American citizens?
I think that question is really inappropriate.
Should they? It's not inappropriate. This is the United States of America. Do you speak English? Should Americans speak English? Citizens speak English? Yes or no?
Point of inquiry, is English the official language of the United States? It's a question I
Mr. Chairman, I'm being interrupted again by another
parliamentary inquiry.
I would like to reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reclaim my time. That seems to be a popular theme today.
That's not a valid inquiry.
It's a point of inquiry.
Women have a right to speak in this committee. Conservative women have the right to speak here and not be interrupted by my male colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I would like to reclaim my time. I think I lost like 10 seconds there.
Okay, we'll give you 10 seconds.
Okay, my next question is, should Somalians who committed fraud be denaturalized and deported, Mr. Balyu?
Again,
yes
I'm not sure
no?
That's an appropriate question because the majority of Somali
So if you commit fraud in
citizens.
this country and you are here from Somalia, you don't believe they should be denaturalized and deported?
Again,
how much fraud would it take for you to want to denaturalize and deport someone who committed fraud in this country? How much?
Again,
$1 billion, $9 billion, $19 billion? What would it take for you?
Most Somali Minnesotans are citizens.
Right. And the ones that committed fraud, the question was, if you understand English, should be those who committed fraud, should they be denaturalized and deported? The Somalians who are here, the ones that can't speak English.
Yeah, so under U.S. law...
Okay, my next question for you
can I please finish the question?
No, you can't because you're not answering the question. My next question is, this is yes or no. If you marry your brother and you commit immigration fraud, should you be denaturalized and deported? If you commit immigration fraud, yes or no?
Again, that question seems really inappropriate. And if I can get back to your question...
Well, you can't answer my question, so that's probably more inappropriate. Can you name one significant contribution to Minnesota from a Somali immigrant who can't speak English?
Absolutely, yes. But again, this is...
You didn't name one. All right, so my next questions are going to be for the Honorable Ms. Robbins. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I heard some discussion earlier about Al-Shabaab. and the discovery that you believe some of this money that was defrauded the U.S. government went to al-Shabaab. Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
Yes, it's been proven.
How much money are we talking about?
You know, we don't have an amount. So there's been specific cases where it's been charged where we have an amount, but then of the millions that go to Somalia over the years in remittances, a portion of that we understand is taken as sort of a tax or corruption by al-Shabaab when it enters the country.
Can you explain to us who al-Shabaab is?
It's a terrorist organization in Somalia.
And they're affiliated with Al-Qaeda, is that right?
My understanding is they are.
I am on the DNI website where it tells me that since 2014, al-Shabaab has killed more U.S. citizens than any other Al-Qaeda affiliate. And as of 2025, al-Shabaab, this group, is Al-Qaeda's wealthiest component. Can you believe that?
Yes.
And that American tax dollars through Minnesota, through Governor Tim Walz, who shamefully had to resign from his re-election the other day. Thank you to the young YouTuber Nick Shirley. This is the kind of thing that was happening in Minnesota. So I praise the Republicans who are here today from the Minnesota State Legislature exposing this fraud. And then, Ms. Robbins, when do you think Tim Walz became aware of the fraud?
I think he's been aware of it since the beginning. This was a huge issue in our state in the year he ran for governor, and the OLA reports came out first identifying the child care fraud in March and April of 2019 when he was in the first months of his term.
Was Keith Ellison in on it too, knowledgeable, the Catholic turned Muslim guy in Minnesota?
Yes, they were all newly in office, and this was very public knowledge in Minnesota.
What role do you think Tim Walz and Keith Ellison played, his administration, in delaying investigations into the fraud?
So I've outlined several things where they stopped our ability to strengthen internal controls, and they also shut down the criminal investigations by the OIG and DHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. I do have two articles, Mr. Chairman, that I would like to ask unanimous consent. This one on foxnews.com, Minnesota fraud probe will expand to other states. And then on house.gov, legislators blast DHS for revelations it had contracts with feeding our future.
What made this exchange so striking wasn't volume. It was control. While others grew defensive, Nancy Mace stayed precise, repeatedly narrowing her questions to simple yes or no answers. And each time witnesses sidestepped. When she raised the issue of English proficiency for U.S. citizens, the pushback was immediate, almost theatrical, as though the premise itself was unacceptable. That response revealed how far the debate has drifted from common sense. Then came the point that sent a ripple through the room, a hypothetical involving marriage fraud tied to immigration benefits. No identities were stated, but the implication was unmistakable, mirroring unresolved allegations connected to Representative Ilhan Omar. Suddenly, those long-dismissed claims didn't feel so abstract, especially given Minnesota's central role in the Feeding Our Future scandal, a scheme where phony nonprofits allegedly drained millions from programs meant to feed children. But the most chilling detail emerged with confirmation that misappropriated funds may have crossed an unthinkable line, ending up with a terrorist group. That revelation reframed everything. This wasn't just corruption, it was a potential national security breach. Even more troubling, testimony indicated officials raised alarms years ago, only to be accused of prejudice and pushed aside. Now Governor Walz's administration and Attorney General Keith Ellison face mounting scrutiny over what was known and when. At this point, party labels are irrelevant. The real issue is whether power was used to shield wrongdoing, and whether anyone will finally answer for it.